So guys, now talking about the soil mix. Now over here I have my aquarium sand. Now guys, it's not, I cannot give you the exact type of aquarium sand because it differs from place to place. Whenever I tend to go to the aquarium shop, it's not necessary that I'm going to find the same soil mix or the same type of sand every time. This time I had found a sand, but you can see the sand is not very fine. You can see there is still a lot of granules. Let me focus a little bit, so it will be much visible for you to see the granules. You can see the granules are like sugar, so they're not very fine, not like the river sand that is very fine. It still has a lot of granules, and this is what tends to make the soil loose, porous. Otherwise, if you're going to use the fine river sand, that is going to get compact. So you need to have a soil that has slightly larger granules, almost the granules of sugar. You can see it's not very fine. So this is what I'm using. Now this is around 80% what I am using in this soil mix. And then I have my garden soil. Now this is the regular garden soil. There is no compost, there is no manure, there is no fertilizer at all. It is just raw garden soil. Basically, whenever there is some kind of construction going on, they tend to dig up the road, so I just go ahead and pick it up a little bit. Now what I tend to do is I filter it a little bit, because it does contain a lot of the dust in it which we do not want. So I'm going to clear it off, and I am going to just tap it off and filter it out. If there are a little bit bigger rocks, this is absolutely okay. We can put it at the bottom of the pot. We do not throw anything, we do not waste anything from the garden soil. So this is how I will filter the dust. Even this might happen to break down, so I'm not going to be using a lot of it, but you can see most of these are very hard. The regular soil over the period of time tends to turn very hard. At times it might melt, but at times it might not melt, so we do not want to use a lot of it because my soil has a high content of clay, which has a high possibility of turning compact, so I do not use a lot of it, but I try to filter it as much as I can. And here you can see this is all the fine dust. Now out of this I will try to use only the larger portion or the larger pieces, not much, just a little bit. I think that's all about it. So this is usually my mix, what I tend to use for majority of my plants. And then the pot is also very small, so I'm going to cover the base of the pot with anything. You can use anything for that, and if there are larger pieces like this, we can add them also at the base. Now if you want to make it even more gritty, you can use perlite, you can use pumice, whichever is available with you. If you want, you can use that, but here I'm making just a very regular mix, which you will find it, because when you're going to buy perlite and pumice, which is absolutely okay, it tends to work out really well, but a lot of people do not want to spend that much of money. This is a very basic soil mix. Now apart from this, I also have some mountain soil, which I'm just using one handful of mountain soil. This is just to make the soil mix more gritty. Now if you want, you can use pumice or perlite instead of this. So I'm just going to give a quick mix. So this time the regular aquarium sand was not available, so I had to purchase a different type of sand, but this is also okay. This is also going to do the trick. It is going to work out the same. So you can see my soil mix is now ready, and now we are just going to fill it up. Now again, as I said, this is just a very basic soil mix. If you want, you can add activated charcoal, you can add pumice, perlite, lava rock, small brick pieces, whichever is available with you. You can use anything. So now I will add the succulent in this. Now when selecting a succulent, ensure that you have a good piece. As I said, when you're going to the store to purchase a succulent, ensure that the succulent does not have any wrinkles, there are no mealybugs, there is no white stuff, there are no cobwebs, there are no dry leaves, there is no stretching. The succulent has to be extremely compact, and only then go ahead and purchase the succulent. Now all we have to do is just place the succulent in the center. As you can see, I have not put the succulent too low into the pot. The succulent is at the right edge. And now I'm going to top it up with a little bit of soil. So I am leaving a little bit of space, like around, now this looks little fluffy, but as and when I'm going to water, the soil will settle down a little bit and it's going to still give me a little bit of edge. Now if you're going to completely fill this up with soil, what's going to happen is when you're going to water, the soil will spill out. So I do not want that to happen. Now because the soil is dry, it is going to look a little bit fuller, but as and when I'm going to water it, the soil will settle down and I'm going to still have a little bit of buffer at the edge. And I think we are done. Just give it a little tap so that the soil can, all the air pockets can get released from inside the soil. And we are done. So we are done with the potting. Now the most important thing, this succulent is going to be kept in indirect bright light. Let's say that you have just purchased this succulent. This succulent is going to be kept in indirect bright light for at least a week. We are not going to water it right away because the succulent is well hydrated. We have selected the perfect succulent, so we do not need to water it right away. We are going to water it probably after 4 or 5 days or even a week. It's absolutely normal, but we are going to place this succulent in indirect bright light for at least a week so that it can get acclimated in our environment. It can get acclimated to the new soil mix that we have prepared. It can get acclimated with the watering because we are going to water after 5 days, so that it can even get adjusted to the new watering as well, because the water parameters tend to change from different cities. Different countries all have a very different water parameters. So the succulent will get adjusted to the temperature, to the climate, to the environment, to the soil, to the amount of sunlight you're giving it. So initially you have to keep it in indirect bright light. You can either keep it under a shade cloth. If you are keeping it under a shade cloth, you do not need to be worried because the green shade cloth or a filtration will give it dappled indirect light. So it's absolutely normal. As long as you're not putting it out in direct sunlight, it's absolutely normal. So that's all about it. I will make the video once again when we are going to water. I'm going to show you how to water the succulent. So if you are a beginner, just stick around with this videos.